Ladies and gentlemen, oops, it's a really hot mic, huh? Hot, hot, hot. Good morning. Welcome to the Urban League Empowerment Center. Put your hands together for the hard-working construction workers, architects, designers, engineers, everyone who's been a part of this incredible project. Let's really put our hands together for them this morning. We are here for what we are calling a topping off ceremony. Now, people have asked, what is that? Well, in New York, Governor, you build to the sky, as high as the zoning rules will allow you to build. And I'm proud to announce today that we have reached exterior construction all the way up to the 17th floor, which is the top of this building, and we're celebrating that all 17 floors are in place today, and we are almost at what one might call the midpoint in bringing this project in on time and under budget. Proud today to have the governor of the great state of New York with us, and I'll introduce her in a minute. But let me say once again, for those who don't know, I'm Mark H. Morial, proud to serve as president of the National Urban League, and this is going to be our new home. But more important than that, this is a project that's transformative for Harlem, for the city of New York, for the state of New York, and for the nation. Why? Because we are an historic civil rights organization, and no historic civil rights organization in American history has undertaken a project of this sort. This project brings together an array of uses, high-quality retail, which will produce jobs and provide quality shopping opportunities for the people who live and visit Harlem. Number two, the National Urban League's headquarters, returning to Harlem after some 60-plus years. And New York's first ever Civil Rights Museum, which will showcase the history not only of Black New York, but showcase the history of African Americans and the struggle that was carried out in the northern states of the United States, cascading into the experiences of the last 50 years as urban America has been transformed. It will also include high quality, in the space we are standing now, a meeting and conference center. And that meeting and conference center will give us the opportunity to host meetings, symposia, conferences, conventions, and provide a place where we can accommodate as many as 100-plus people for seated meal events. A facility that will be available not only for the Urban League's use, but also for the community of Harlem and for visitors and others who may want to host events here on 125th Street. And then we also have some additional office space where we're in discussions with a number, right, Dewana, exciting possibilities of those that might decide to headquarter or house their operations in this building to join us. And then finally, there are 177 units of affordable housing. And this is a very crucial part of this project because we decided from Jump Street that we would not be a part of any gentrification in Harlem, that instead we were going to run against the tide, Meredith, we were going to break the mold, and we were going to do that you can build affordable, high-quality, first-class housing for people to live in. And those are the uses of this building. I do want to acknowledge Meredith Marshall, who will speak. Meredith is our lead developer. Meredith, thank you so very much for all of your stewardship and work in assembling the team of high-quality partners who made this a great possibility. Dewana Williams, who serves as our quote-unquote director of real estate, has shepherded and stewarded the day-to-day execution of this project. I want to acknowledge a number of Urban League staff, teammates of mine, give them a hand, who've been intimately involved in the work of this project over the last period and several years. And I want to acknowledge, especially who'll be speaking next, the chair of our board, Tim Murphy. Tim has been a steadfast proponent of this project, and without the board's help, without the board's support, without the board's blessings, without the board's energy, we would not be at this very important juncture today. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Urban League Empowerment Center. Welcome to Harlem, USA. And now it is my pleasure to introduce a woman who hit the ground running and is continuing to move forward in a very visible and assertive way. And I want to thank her, her team, and the state of New York for their support. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'm taking this out. I'm a little vertically challenged, if you haven't noticed. Okay, let's just accept that fact. Mark, this has got to be the most exciting, innovative project, one of a kind, in our entire country's history. And that is not hyperbole, that is a statement of fact. So I thank you and people like Tim Murphy and your board and others who had this vision. I mean, people during a pandemic, what are you thinking about? Well, they're thinking about how do we put Harlem on the map like never, ever before? Because everybody around the world knows Harlem. I mean, it's a very cool place. Let's just get that out there. But to be able to bring people here to this one place where the critically important work, leading our civil rights movement forward through the work of the National Urban League, to have that centered here is a huge point of pride for us in Harlem. So we're say welcome home, welcome back, but also to Meredith Marshall, the co-founder and managing partner of BRP Companies. This is an extraordinary project too. I think you're going to get a lot more business after people see what you've done here, so this is good for you. And to all the men and women who are building this. Again, it started during the heat of a pandemic. I mean, we're already 17 stories. It didn't happen overnight. This has been going on. The hardworking men and women showed up during a pandemic. That is also an extraordinary story to tell. So I thank them. I also want to thank Jennifer Scott, the executive director and chief curator for the museum. I'm going to have my own thoughts on what should go in the museum, just in case you want to know. I want to make sure that when we talk about the northern states, we're also talking about northern New York, okay? Because I come from western New York, and we brag about us being the place where the NAACP, the Niagara movement, was founded. And that was a place where people came and helped the freed slaves get across the Niagara River to Canada for a long time. And so I'm going to make sure that you take care of my hometown of Buffalo and show it up here, okay, if that's okay with you. Let's get that done. Harriet Tubman spent 50 years of her life after she worked to free slaves. She lived up in Auburn, New York. Frederick Douglass, buried not far from Susan B. Anthony, same cemetery. They died 2 years apart. So all these stories, I can't wait to showcase here as we connect our state and get to brag about not just the Harlem story and the leaders who took us to a different place in our nation, but also the entire state. So I'm going to put that plug in right there. But also, I love projects that incorporate affordable housing, because this is and will continue to be a challenge unless we find creative ways to incorporate new housing projects and supportive housing, over 50 supportive housing. And what's supportive housing? It just helps people who've been knocked down. They need a little extra hand. They need someone who cares about them. And whether they have a substance abuse problem or mental health problems, or sometimes it's our veterans, sometimes it's LGBTQ seniors, there's populations that benefit when we are smart about how we spend our money and lift them up literally through the place they live. And also the retail shopping. I'm coming back. Great place to have all the shopping opportunities here. When you bring businesses that are seen all over America and all the suburbs, you bring them to a neighborhood like this, it says you matter too. You know, your people deserve, your residents deserve to have the same opportunities as they do out in Westchester for shopping. So why not bring it all together? Because it's elevating the psychology of a community as well. That's what you do with a project like this. You say, it's the headquarters of the most significant civil rights organization, an organization that lifts people up out of poverty, addresses the challenges of urban living every single day. You're here, all the talent that's around that, the smart people that are solving problems are coming here. But then you say, but people want to live here, people want to shop here, and let's have a place where people can learn not just about the past activism and civil rights, but a place where people say, I want to be that. It's going to inspire the next generation of civil rights activism when people come here and see this museum. So this will cement this area as a hub of business and culture. Really proud that we got here with $110 million of state resources. I have a feeling I'm going to be asked for more, but that's, everybody does. Am I right about that? I know how this goes. But this is a celebration. I have a whole speech here. Thank you, staff, for writing a great speech. But this is about the people in this room, the doers, the believers, the visionaries who come together at this milestone and say, we're halfway there, and I'm so looking forward to coming back because I have a lot of experience cutting ribbons. I want to come back and cut this ribbon. I'm going to come back and celebrate this. So thank you and congratulations to everybody who got us this far today.
Let's put our hands together for Governor Hochul. Thank you very much for those words. Let me acknowledge Senator Charles Schumer, who was with us for a minute earlier, who had another obligation. Let's give him a hand. He and Senator Gillibrand stepped up to ensure that we would be receiving some support from the federal government for the building, so we want to acknowledge their support. We also know that Assemblywoman Dickens could not be with us this morning, but she's represented by Stacey Marius. Raise your hand, Stacey. We want to thank Assemblywoman Dickens. Assemblywoman Dickens is the first public official that I approached about this project many years ago, and the first person to endorse it, and she looked me in the eyes and said, don't gentrify. And so from the beginning, we were bonded about how we were going to do this project. So give her our best. And then Clement Jones, where's Clement? Clement Jones is representing, I'm sorry. Clement James. Clement James is representing Senator Gillibrand. Thank you very much for representing her. Yes, sir. I appreciate you so very, very much. So Meredith Marshall and BRP Companies is one of New York City's leading developers. Proudly, he also leads an African-American firm. And his involvement, participation, and expertise from the very beginning has been essential to this project. But it's a point of pride because what we do is important, how we do it is as important, because the National Urban League has to lead by example when it comes to inclusion and economic participation. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce our lead developer, Meredith Marshall of BRP Companies.
Thank you, Mark. Governor Hochul, all esteemed guests, I'm so proud to be here. I am Meredith Marshall. I am a co-founder and managing partner of BRP Companies. We're a fully integrated developer in New York, an investment firm. When we started this project, I think I was about 30 years old. But and my kids remind me that I'm not 30 anymore. But it was a concept, and it was a beautiful concept, a mixed-use, mixed-income development, housing the great National Urban League, and it was a great vision. But it took a lot of people to put this together. This is probably the best public-private partnership in the history of the country, because it brings together a 100-year-old esteemed great institution like the National Urban League. It's 100% affordable housing at varying degrees of affordable housing, from ultra low income to 80% of AMI, which in New York City is a bit contentious, but we sat with everyone, all the stakeholders, Community Board 10, shout out to Community Board 10, state officials, city officials, but primarily the community had to buy in because we have parking here and it's a transit zone, so we don't need parking when you have affordable housing. The community bought into that. We had to get a zoning variance, and the community bought into that. The community trusted us as a developer, but more importantly, it trusted Mark Morial. And here we are with this wonderful project. And my firm is probably one of the largest African-American development firms, but in 2020, we were number 3 in terms of the busiest, most active developers in New York City, only behind Brookfield, which is a $100 billion public company, and Related. L&M, I guess we beat you that year, but, and that's a testament to the belief you had in us, Mark, because in 2013, we were okay, but we weren't in the top 10 in New York. And now, Governor Hochul, we have about $1 billion being developed in your great state, from 300 units to Long Island, about $400 million in Westchester County, primarily in New Rochelle and North White Plains, and we just won a 1,700 unit NYCHA development in New York City. So we are busy, and this project actually propelled us to the next level because we had great branding, we had great partners, and I would be remiss, I think I have 30 seconds, Dewana, not to mention our other partners in this, L&M, Taconic, Prussick, DeBar, we have Dewana here, and L&M Builders, actually an affiliate of our partners, actually building the development. Shout out to you, you all are doing a great job. And I just want to say, the community in Harlem deserves this. We're going to have Class A retail. We're going to have world-class amenities and a conference center. And it's just appropriate for Harlem because Harlem is back. And thank you for all your support from the governor on down, all the city officials, the elected officials, the community board. From the bottom of my heart, we'll be forever grateful to Harlem for this great opportunity. Thank you, and God bless.
Let's give it up for Meredith Marshall. Thank you very much, Meredith, for that. Tim Murphy follows 2 other chairs of our board, I should mention. Both of them have gone home and have left us in the last year. John Hofmeister, who is the chair during his tenure this project started. Michael Neidorff, who gave us our lead gift. And they always embraced the vision without reservation or hesitancy, but challenged us several years ago, 10 plus years ago, to make a decision about the long-term future governor of the National Urban League. And Atlanta came calling, and Philadelphia came calling, and Washington, D.C. came calling, and many other cities wanted us, even Newark, wanted us to consider relocating our headquarters there. But when we looked at the history and we found Meredith, it was a fait accompli. It was without any reservation or hesitation that we should be in New York. But we had to do it in a different way. We had to build and lead a project that practiced what we preach, which is greenlining, which is investing, which is jobs, which is something more than just a place for us to operate. The National Urban League has a network of 92 affiliates across the country, 2,500 employees. We touch almost 2 million people through our programs and millions more through our advocacy and events. And I cannot thank Tim Murphy enough for continuing and accelerating that tradition, but also bringing great expertise to the final stages of the closing and the work we've done beyond. So ladies and gentlemen, the chair of our board, Tim Murphy.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Mark, thank you for that very warm introduction. I think mostly what I do is I worry a lot, And the good news on this extraordinary project is you've given us very little to worry about. The progress has been extraordinary. I want to thank all of you who are joining us on this auspicious occasion. I'm Tim Murphy, the Chief Administrative Officer of MasterCard, and it is the honor of my lifetime to be the chair of the Board of Trustees of the National Urban League. This is a tremendous day to celebrate the Urban League Empowerment Center, the building that you're in, the history-making Urban Civil Rights Museum, and the future-focused National Urban League Conference Center, all at the center of so much rich history here in Harlem. Governor Hochul, a special thanks to you for your personal leadership and the leadership of the state for this extraordinary project. We're grateful to Senator Schumer, who was here early, for his leadership, to Mayor Adams, Assemblywoman Dickens, and others. This is a very important day. I also want to thank my fellow members of the National Urban League Board of Trustees for their tremendous support in the effort to drive our capital campaign and enabling this terrific outcome. We would literally not be here today honoring this milestone without our board's exceptional support. You know, this building is much more than a physical structure. The brick and mortar that we stand in represent really so much more, from economic and social progress and the dream of actualizing full equity in our nation, to the hopes and the aspirations for the many who will walk through these doors and be touched by the programming of the Urban League, seeing themselves reflected and represented in this magnificent space. So the building's a metaphor for the critical history that's documented in the museum here, or that will be documented and that we cannot forget, and in the possibility of a brighter future. The building is a living, breathing example of what's possible when we come together with a shared goal to advance opportunity for African Americans and indeed for all Americans. The Urban League Empowerment Center will provide a meeting space, history lessons, also affordable housing, office, and retail space. It'll be a center of gravity for community gatherings, organizing, and training, but it'll also be an economic engine for Harlem to help create jobs and generate positive economic activity in this great city. Our work to secure full economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights for our African American and underserved communities is far from complete. But with the continued commitment of those standing here today and countless others, and with this impressive new resource and building, the National Urban League will ensure that the torch remains lit and the work continues. Thank you all for your support and for your support of the National Urban League.
Appreciate it. We're going to do some photo ops in a minute. I asked that some of the men and women who are working on this project join us with the governor so we can take some additional photos. Let me also acknowledge Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams and I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago at another event, and he reaffirmed his strong enthusiasm and support for this project. And we know the mayor is busy and has many obligations, but the city and the state have been essential to this project because both of them had an interest in this site, an interest in this land, and it's taken a great deal of cooperation and hard work to get us to the point that we are. So we're gonna give a round of applause for the mayor, even though he's not here loud enough for him to hear it wherever he's traveling in this great city today. So let me just close by saying we're excited. And this is a milestone to get to where you could top off a 17-story building. But we've got a lot more work to do. We've got some more resources, Dennis, we've got to assemble. Dewana, we've got a lot more decisions that we've got to make. We've got a lot more people we're talking to about joining us in this project, Meredith and Tim. But we are on course and on track thanks to the great building team that has worked on this project. The progress has been amazing. We were here just a little over a year ago when there were only 2 floors downstairs on this building, and how fast, how quick, and how drama-free this project has been. It's truly been a joy for all of us. So right now we're on schedule to be on time and within budget. And we're going to try to keep it that way, and we're going to try to stay that way. So I'm excited on behalf of the National Urban League and the staff team, thank you guys so much for all the work you've done to juggle the work on this project and the work we have to do to keep the ecosystem and the civil rights enterprise moving forward every day. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask these men and women, or all guys today, to come on over. And Governor, if you will, we'll join Tim, Meredith. We want to take Rhonda and Tess and photography team and press team. We want to take some good shots. Do we want to move this podium or do you want to leave this podium? Okay, guys.